actually tackling anomalous archaeology and history, which I think is...
Okay, so what led you into that? I mean, it's an interesting area to just move into. I mean, what was it that to coin a phrase, piqued your interest in anomalous archaeology?
Well, actually, it has a lot to do with where I live and have lived most of my life. I've always heard tales of these 12, either 10 or 12 stone fortresses that are across southern Indiana, or were at one time. From the time I was early teens or possibly before, I've heard these rumors, tales, legends, however you want to say it, and finally I decided that I just had a need. I've always been interested in history, and none of these things show up in the history books, or at least they didn't to my knowledge. So upon doing a little research and talking to local folks who were, unofficial historians, they said, oh yeah, they were real, and here is a book that describes one of them. So I found another person that had a book that described another one of them. Okay, now I'm convinced that there was something to this legend. And that was when I was 14 or 15 years old, some 4 decades ago. Over 4 decades ago. And since then, I've chased it to ground as best I can. And it turns out that they were indeed there, and that they were documented. And they've subsequently been ignored. The people who report on them have been denigrated. A lot of the stories have been far-fetched, some have been debunked, some have some substantial evidence to support them. So that's where the current book goes, is what's real, what's documented, what's speculation. And I've tried...
Why is there the great fear about these particular stone fortresses? What is it about them that makes standard archaeologists feel disturbed?
That's the basic question. That is the most basic question of all. And my speculation, which has a lot of circumstantial supporting evidence, is that it would, if proven, if my hypothesis is proven, then it would go to the land rights as presumed through the doctrine of discovery. If there had been a Christian culture in the Americas before Columbus got here, then the papal bulls allowing discovery under the term consistent with the papal bulls would have been null and void, and therefore all of the land claims and all of the other acts that followed them would have been illegal. So there could be a huge backlash on that.
Wow. So there are vested interests here.
Yeah.
That would be problematic, because I hadn't actually realised. I knew that there was the partition of Latin America by papal bulls, and I know that there was the Portuguese access of influence and the Spanish access of influence, but there was something similar in North America, wasn't there?
Yes, and it actually went to the United States Supreme Court and the decision in Johnson versus McIntyre was that the Native Americans had no land rights because the land ownership had been assumed by the United States after the British concession at the Revolutionary War. And of course it went on back because most of the territory was acquired by the British during the 7 Years' War or by the Spanish before that. So most of the U.S. territory, all of the U.S. territory, if my hypothesis is correct, was acquired illegally and was subsequently codified by the government of the United States, and without consulting the residents, being the Native Americans. So that's where it goes. So
okay, so now moving back to the stone structures we were talking about, have you subsequently, where have you gone with this now? Where has this led you?
Well, it has led me, first of all, to who built them and when and why. And I know that you've read enough to know what my hypothesis on that is, so we can just go ahead and jump to it. But before we do that, there was a long-standing legend on both sides of the Atlantic about a gentleman, a person by the name of Prince Madoc, who was a Welshman. And in one version of this legend, he sailed in 1170 from Wales with a large group of colonists and settled in North America, and was subsequently, the entire bunch was killed off by the Native Americans because they were invaders. In another version, which has been researched and promulgated by a Welshman, two guys, one of them named Alan Wilson and the other one named Baron Blackett, and they've gone through ancient Welsh chronicles and come up with this pretty much fairly solid case that Prince Madoc was the admiral of the Welsh Navy in 560. There was some kind of an event, large weather, possibly extraterrestrial impact event, that threw up a major storm and blew him to North America, he and his fleet. And that it took him 10 years to rebuild the fleet and return to Wales and report to the king, who was Madoc's half-brother, and that king's name was Artorius Rex II, or King Arthur. Now, regardless of the validity of that research, someone built fortresses in North America, and it wasn't just the 10 or 12 across Indiana. I've identified some 45 different fortresses, not all stone. Some of them were palisades, wooden palisades. Some of them were earthen walls. Some of them were a mixture of all three, in fact. And in a lot of the earthworks, meaning the mounds that are associated with this, you find what we call stone box graves, or in Wales are called slab-sided graves, and they're contemporary. The age, they all date pretty much to the 6th century. So we have two things going on. We have these fortresses, and then we have a lot of indications that there was a Welsh-based or Cymry-based influence in North America, particularly in the Ohio Valley. So it was rather confusing because also in association with these places in North America, we had 2nd to 4th century Roman coins and a few instances of possibly Roman weapons. And others. So
can I just go back
Sure.
on that? So Roman coins have been found in North America.
Yes.
And locations that they couldn't have got there accidentally, or they could have been dropped there or placed there. They've actually been found.
And in numbers that wouldn't be consistent with someone having a hole in their pocket. In one instance, in 1962, there was a bridge under construction from Clarksville, Indiana to Louisville, Kentucky, and one of the engineers came across a cache of 52 Roman coins.
Could you let everybody know where the book is available, or where it will be available when it comes out?
It's currently available on Amazon in the US, and I believe it's also available on Amazon UK as a Kindle.